Hey, this is Vinnie Fettuccine with Cooking with Vinnie, and today we're going to be covering a pretty simple recipe, an old family recipe called meatloaf. So, first step of making meatloaf here, we have, some basic ingredients. So we got some salt, some yeast, some water at about bath temperature or so, and then we have some bread flour. Bread flour is good, has higher protein levels than all-purpose flour. It's going to help your meatloaf really rise. So, we're going to first get started with, we have a big old mixing bowl and a scale. So we're first going to start by adding about, let's say 450 grams of flour, I believe. Let me check my notes here. 550 grams of flour. So we're going to start with that. So we're going to go ahead and just start adding 550 grams of bread flour in there. Yeah, getting there. And there we go, pretty much close enough. Yeah, hit it on the spot. Next we're going to add some salt. So I think I'm going to add about 12 grams or so of salt here. So just as iodized salt, pretty simple stuff. So we're targeting 562 with the salt. Boom, got it. Next we're going to add some yeast. So yeast here, we're going to add, I say about 10 grams or so, I think would be probably pretty good. Add it in, see how it looks, then go from there. There you go. Yeah, I think that 10 grams will be fine for yeast. There we go. 10 grams of yeast. Plenty of yeast in there. So often what you want to do with yeast, if you don't know if your yeast is good or not, you want to start it off in your water a little bit with a pinch of sugar. So you want to take your water, about bath water, put a pinch of sugar in there, mix it up, then add your yeast, sprinkle it on top, and let it sit for about 5 minutes. If it all falls to the bottom, it's no good. It's no good. But if it all sits at the top and it kind of makes a foam up there, then your yeast is good. I know this yeast is good because I used it yesterday, so that's why I'm just adding it in like this. But now we're going to add about, according to my notes here, it's going to be about 410 grams of water at bath temperature, so about 100 degrees or so, a little bit less, not enough to burn you. So, that was 572 grams, so that means we're going to be targeting 400 grams, so 982 grams of water, or with the water. So, I'm going to add that in there. 900. And there we go, it's close enough. Off by just a couple grams for this much really is not going to make a big difference at all whatsoever. So we're just going to take our scale, put it aside. We don't need that right now. Next we're going to get a spoon, and we're going to start mixing it up. Take a big spoon, and just start, going to town on mixing. Until you got it well combined, and it's a nice shaggy mess of a dough. So make sure to get it all the way down to the bottom. And you know what, I'll be back in just a second once I'm done that. Alright, so when your dough looks like this, you can see it's kind of shaggy looking. It doesn't really come together too much as a slop or a liquid or anything like that. It still has some texture to it and stuff like that. That's pretty much good to go. Nice and mixed. You don't want to overmix it, just want it to look like that. So after that, we get that done. We're just going to take a rag. We're going to just droop that over the top of it, which is hard to do one-handed, but we'll do it. There we go. And then we're going to let it sit. You know what, we're going to... we're going to put it in the microwave just to get it out of the way. Yeah, get that out of the way. We're going to put this right up in the microwave. I almost forgot to mention, always make sure to put your yeast back in the refrigerator when you're not using it. That way it stays for a lot longer. Otherwise, if you leave it on the counter, it's just not going to work out so well. So just toss it right in there. Alright, so it's been in the microwave for about a half an hour now, just chilling stuff. So just uncover it up. And make sure you have a bowl of water nearby. What you're going to do is you're going to make sure your hands are nice and wet. Then you're just going to really quickly just grab it and fold it over. Rotate it and do the same thing. Grab it, fold it over. Grab it, fold it over. Re-wet your hands. Grab it. Fold it over. And you're just going to go around twice or so. Just the goal here is you're trying to develop the gluten networks in it. So you're trying to make it all, you know, have lots of nice air pockets in it and stuff. The gluten does that. So yeah, you want to do that. So just keep doing that. Lifting it up, flipping it down. And I'm going to do one more just for good measure. And there we go. So the goal here is just to stretch it. You don't want to break the chain. So you basically want to, you know, stretch it to the max it can go without it breaking. If you break it, you broke it. So, you know, that's not good. So anyway, now we're just going to put it back in the microwave, cover it up for another half an hour, and then we're going to do that same process again. So I'll see you then. Alright, so another half hour passed by, so we're just going to do the same thing over again. So just get your hand wet and just stretch and pull and flop it down. And just do that for a little bit, a couple rotations, and then we're just going to let it go for another half an hour, and then I'll show you what to do then. So, yep, I'm going to do this, and you guys will be back soon. Alright, so it's been about another half an hour or so, so that means it's time to get on to the next step. So instead of, you know, working on the bread, or the loaf aspect of the meatloaf, this time we're going to focus on the meat aspect of the meatloaf. So, step one, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little, you know, tiny little little skillet like that. We're just going to take it and we're just going to heat that baby up all the way to high. Let that get nice and toasty because we're going to toast some fennel seeds. So just put that aside and give it a minute. Then the mixing bowl. We're going to take first we're going to take about a half a cup of breadcrumbs. I make these breadcrumbs fresh from bread that I actually bake here. Then put it in a dehydrator. Then you know, then put it in a blender and make breadcrumbs. Next, we're going to take ground beef. So I have about, about 2 pounds worth, or about a kilogram or so of ground beef. So we're just going to go ahead and drop that all in there, bag and all. Yeah, I'm going to take the bag out. Alright, so I got both the 2 pounds of the ground beef in the mixing bowl. This is the mixing bowl, by the way, for the stand mixer. So next, we're just going to take an egg. We're just going to take 2 eggs, actually. We're just going to add them in there. And let's, you know, not do that. Okay, we'll try again. Yeah, we'll just try again. All right. One, and you know, second one, 2. Cool. Those are in there. Then we're gonna take some ketchup. So we're just gonna take this, you know, choose your brand of ketchup, whatever you want, and we're just gonna squeeze some of that in there. Yeah, it feels like the right amount right there. Okay, then we're gonna add some salt and pepper, which I'll do in just a minute. So first, we're just gonna take it over to the stand mixer and get that going. Boom. Walk it down, start it on mix. So we're gonna grab our salts. So I just have some iodized salt here. So we're just gonna toss that in there. And amount, doesn't really matter. Some in there. Right. And then the pepper, which this is gonna be fun to do this. I'm gonna come back with that. Alright, with the pepper, just keep going till your wrist is sore with the pepper grinder, and then you'll be pretty good with pepper. So just let that go for just a little bit. We're going to turn that off while we're waiting for the fennel seeds. So we're just going to quickly check. You want to put your hand a little bit over your skillet just to feel how hot it is. If your hand feels nice and warm there, then you're probably good to go. So we're just going to go ahead and just sprinkle enough in there. Just to cover the bottom or so, just like that. That much. And you'll hear it start crackle-lacking. Just want to keep doing that. You'll smell it start getting real fragrant. And once you start smell it get really fragrant, that's about the time. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna add that right in there. And we're just gonna take that, pop that right there. And go back to mixing. Alright. We'll let all those fennel seeds all mix in there. I'm gonna get things ready for the next step. Alright, so for the next step, we have just some all-purpose flour here. We have our bread dough, and then we have our meat. So this is going to be the meat loaf, you know. So at least get a couple cooking cutting boards out, because you're going to be using both of them. So first step is to flour the heck out of both of your cutting boards, because you're going to need it. And you know what? We're also going to go ahead and, other than spreading that around, we're also going to get a bowl out really quick. We're also going to add some flour into the bowl too. So I'm just going to bring this over here, and we're going to go ahead and just flour the heck out of this bowl and the cutting board and everything. And you know what? Screw it. We're just going to do it the quick way. So let's go ahead and just flour the heck out of everything. It's all-purpose flour, people. It's cheap as heck. Just use it. Oh, okay, there we go. Almost broke my wrist there, jeez. So we're going to take that, put that away for now. And next we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to use our hands here. We're just going to spread out the flour really quick. And same with that flour over here. We're just going to spread it around. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be turning out the dough onto this sheet here. We're cutting it into pieces. And then we're going to be putting it in the dough, or in the flour, getting it all, nice and floury, putting it here, rolling it out, adding meat to it, then rolling it up, making a nice little bun. Then we're just going to leave it there, and then it's going to sit there for, about another half an hour. Oh, speaking of which, by the way, we're also going to, right now, start heating up the oven. So, right now in the oven, if we look, I have my my nice cast iron skillet in there. Or, cast iron Dutch oven in there. So we want to heat up with that in there, as well as with the big heavy iron griddle too, just to hold the temperature in there. And only that, but it's going to spread out the temperature. So 500 degrees, we're going to let it go. It's going to be about a half an hour from now before that's actually ready to put everything in the oven, because it doesn't take the whole, it doesn't take 15 minutes to heat up. It takes closer to half an hour. So what we're going to do is first, we're going to take this, and we're just gonna be right back in just a second. Alright, so I got the dough out on the cutting board here, so we're just gonna go ahead and just do a little bit of light, a little bit of shaping of it. Try to get it, pretty close to uniform. We're gonna take it, and we're gonna find roughly the halfway mark, and use this dough scraper, just to cut it in half. Boom, boom. And then we're gonna do the same thing again. We get everything a little lined up. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it in half again. So there we go. That's pretty close to quarters. Doesn't need to be perfect. Just has to be close, So we're just going to take it piece, pop it in there, pop it on the cutting board, stretch it out. Okay. Use whatever method you feel works well for you, but I'm just going to work on trying to get that stretched out a little bit, get it nice and thin. Now we're going to take some meat, so we're going to take about a quarter of whatever we have there, pop it on there, just check, about a quarter. I feel like that wasn't quite. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and just fold this all around and get it nice and turned around like that, and you'll see in just a second. I mean, you get an idea. We're making like a giant dumpling out of it, a meatloaf, if you will. Alright, so as you can see here, I just, what I did was I touched all the corners together, got it nice, then I flipped it over, and I just shaped it by rotating it a bunch, and squeezing it with my hand near the bottom, with both hands together, kind of like, doing a karate chop kind of motion down there, huh? And there we go. Now we have a loaf filled with meat, a meatloaf. So I'm going to do that 3 more times. I'll be back to you, and then, yeah. Alright, so as you can see here, we have our 4 little meatloaves. Each of them are done in pretty much the same way. It's about a quarter of the meat in each of them, a quarter of the dough, made into, little loaves with meat in them. They're meatloaves. Anyway, so now we're just going to go ahead and just take them and put them in the, in the microwave just to chill for a little bit. They're just going to sit there for a few minutes. So, let's see, we got everything started about, 10 minutes ago or so, so we're just going to wait till about 6 o'clock. So it's going to be about half an hour of heating time for the oven there. And that should be pretty close to the actual 500 degrees that I'm trying to hit with my cast iron. So, yeah, I'll see you guys in about another 20 minutes or so. Oh, and by the way, I completely forgot. You can also add some other optional ingredients into the meat aspect of the meatloaf if you really like. You could add something like, you know, green pepper or onion or garlic or something like that. The fennel seeds is completely optional. I'm just going kind of for like an Australian a sausage roll kind of recipe. Yeah. Alright, so I lied a little bit to you guys. It ended up being about a half an hour, not 20 minutes. But the whole goal here is to get close to about 450, a little over 450 degrees in temperature, just to make sure everything is nice and warm. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our cast iron out of the oven, or our Dutch oven anyway. And so next what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out our meatloafs plural, and we're just gonna go ahead and find first of all our dough scraper, and we're just gonna go ahead and put them in there. So I'm just gonna do that off camera because I need 2 hands. Alright, so you might have to get a little bit creative getting everything in there, but there we go, it's all in. So next what we're just gonna do is we're just gonna take that, flip it on top. I'll do that in just a second. Alright, the Dutch oven is covered. I like to use this style of Dutch oven with the lid that works as a base as well, just because it makes it a lot easier to load everything into it. Otherwise, you just kind of have to drop it in there into that section. It doesn't work as well. So this kind of style right here, I highly recommend. Alright, it's centered in the oven, so we're just going to close that up. And then we're going to reset the temperature, so we're going to go to 485. We're going to drop down just a little bit, because it doesn't need to cook at 500. We just want the 500 to get the Dutch oven up nice high in temperatures. So now after that, after we get that going, it's going to go for 20 minutes before we do the next thing. Alright, so it's been about 20 minutes now, so we're just going to go ahead and just remove the lid from this. I'm going to need 2 hands for that one. There we go, got it removed. It's that lid is heavy. Anyway, that's what we got right now, what we're working with. So we're gonna let it go for another 20 minutes uncovered. After we drop the temperature back down, we're gonna go down to 465 now for another 20 minutes. Then I'll see you then. Alright, so another 20 minutes have gone by, and now, you know, what we're left with is this. So if you look at it, it has a beautiful, beautiful brown, dark brown color on the actual crust section of it. And not so much in there. There's not so much black. It's a pretty beautiful color. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take this out and put it on the cooling rack there so it can actually cool and chill out. I'll be right then. Alright, so I did decide to put it on a cooling rack on top of a baking tray because it is leaking a little bit of, greases and stuff like that. So I'm just going to, now I'm just going to let it cool down for a little bit. Yeah, it's important to let it cool down. Otherwise, you're just going to burn the heck out of yourself if you try to do anything with it. So I highly recommend using, all kinds of, stuff that aren't your hands to actually, handle it until it comes down to a temperature that's, just, not, almost 200 degrees. So that'll be good. Oh, and a little tip with your cast iron there, the greases that came out, all the oils and stuff like that, just take a paper towel and use it to rub it around, make it nice and even coating on everything. Just like that, nice and even coating everywhere, thin, even coating. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to put that right back in the oven, and then that'll help build the layer of polymerization on there to make keep the skillet, non-stick. So I would recommend that step. Alright, so we let it sit for about a half an hour or so, and now it's time that we're going to take it apart, check it out inside, see how it looks, and yeah, then we'll go from there. Alright, so here's a quarter of our meatloaf. We're just going to, cut it up and see how it goes after we struggle for a little bit. Alright, so after cutting it up a little bit, we can see it's definitely, meatloaf. It's a loaf of meat with meat in it. So there we go. That's meatloaf. I don't think I even just say it. Yeah, this definitely was a clean plate. Oh my gosh, so good.